Hi everyone, it's Ash from FPL Hints, here with my preview for Double Gameweek 28. So before we get into it, if you're able to like, share and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. We'll have a quick look at Game Week 27, we'll preview the matches for Double Gameweek 28, as well as looking at my bus team. We'll look at the captaincy polling data for the Double Game Week. And last but not least, we'll have some useful tips from FPL Prem Tipster, who's gone from 3 million to 13k in the last 15 game weeks. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. And in terms of the scores, first and foremost from last weekend, you can see that Brentford and Chelsea drew, which was on par with XG for that fixture as well. And Everton and West Ham, as we can see in terms of XG, in some respects, that scoreline went against it. And then, of course, Fulham, who went against RDZ and you could say in some respects dismantled Brighton, they had a comfortable 3-0 win, albeit looking at XG, it should have been level pegging. And then Newcastle United against Wolverhampton Wanderers went on score with it, XG. And of course, with Newcastle, that's only their second win in their last 5 games. As for Wolves, if I'm not mistaken, that was only their second defeat in the last 4. And then Nottingham Forest against Liverpool. Forest were very unlucky not to get something out of that match. Of course, a bit of controversy towards the end, but Liverpool, in some respects, just had the extra edge and helping hand, shall we say. And then on to Tottenham against Crystal Palace. Tottenham slightly exceeded their XG score, whereas Palace, you could say, were lucky to get their solitary goal. And on to the last match of Saturday, Luton was so unlucky not to get at least a point out of that match against Aston Villa with that late goal that was conceded. And of course, for Luton, it now means that's 4 defeats in their last 5, whereas for Aston Villa, they're flying high in 4th with 4 wins out of 5. And then on to the final matches for the weekend. Burnley lost comfortably to Bournemouth, albeit from an XG perspective, they should have edged it. And then Man City against United, comfortable win for Man City in the end. You could say that stunning goal from Marcus Rashford was lucky in some respects, which is also validated by the XG rating as well. In terms of how I did, so just before I get into it, I've only looked at my score once since New Year's Day, just trying not to look at it, not having the best of seasons. And I'll scroll down very carefully. But of course, based on the average score, I can see relatively how I've done by comparison. I'm not even using the live apps anymore, something that was so integral to the way I experienced match days, something I'm not doing for the time being. So just want to go down carefully here. So I bought in Son for De Bruyne, which thankfully worked out because I also had Foden and got a comfortable net gain there. I can see I scored 15 points above the average. See my game week rank score there as well. So I'd anticipate that with that, it was a reasonable green arrow. Could have been so much more better had certain other things went my way. In goal, Dubravka 7 points, but of course, it seems as if every other FPL manager had Areola with a mega haul, which benefited them. And then onto the defense, gutted for Senesi, effectively a -5 with his injury, and I hope he's fit for the double game week. Van Dijk and Gabriel, who, with the fixtures that they had, wouldn't expected anything less than 6 points each. Onto the midfield, Foden, 15 points, could have been a sliding doors moment if I kept De Bruyne and sold Foden like some FPL managers. So I could say that I was lucky there in that respect. And then Saka and Son could have been so much more, but 7 points is probably the minimum I was hoping from them in those fixtures. And then Barkley against Aston Villa, again, could have been so much more. Kind of feel that the moment I bought Barkley, his form has completely dipped just altogether. In fact, if I just scroll down, that's 2 points, 1, 2, 2. I bought him from the Sheffield United match onwards for the doubles that he had. Of course, he had a 13-point haul before that, 6 points against Brighton, and then 8 points against Chelsea. But it is what it is. And I'll keep him, of course, for the upcoming double. And then Tony against Chelsea, was expecting a fancy return there. Bit annoying that there were 4 goals in that match and he got nothing. Watkins, arguably a viable captaincy option that we all overlooked. And then Haaland with a bare minimum there against Manchester United. And then onto the bench, Kaminsky, 2 points. Garnacho, 2 points. Van Heck with 1. Thankfully didn't damage me. Then Doughty with a 5 points. And I'll show you the heat map in a moment as well, which will show why he really justified at least a fantasy return in that match as well. So overall, won't scroll down any further because I'll see the overall rank. Overall, reasonable game week. And from my perspective, I'm at this point whereby I wasn't sure whether to free hit or to actually just take hits ahead of the blank game week 29. And I'll show you the state of my bus team at this moment in time. In fact, I've made a video about if you are going to free hit in 29, what you could potentially do. And check the link in the description below. But in terms of how I'm set up for double game week 28 at the moment, Kaminsky, of course, in goal. And then I've got Senesi, who I hope at least can be fit for one of those fixtures against Sheffield United at home and Luton at home. I've got Doughty with Crystal Palace and Bournemouth away. I really hope he can at least get 1 clean sheet or a couple of fancy returns. It's not too much to ask in those fixtures. And then Gabriel is my 3rd defender. Onto the midfield, Foden, Saka, Son, Barkley with the double, and then Tony, Watkins, Haaland as the captain for now. Of course, my intention would be to get Solanke and he be the captain, and then Dubravka, Garnacho, Van Heck, and Van Dijk make the bench. So I'm in this situation now where I actually bought Son in the hope that I could potentially not free hit in 29. But the issue I have is that if I get Solanke, I'd pretty much have to sell Haaland if I'm going the non-free hit route, because then I want to keep Tony and I want to keep Watkins for the blank as well. But then is it really worth getting rid of Haaland in such an important match for Man City? And it'd be a massive risk. And even if I do sell Haaland for Solanke, well, Solanke blanks in 29 anyway. So I've literally just got him for the double, and then I'd have to make the shortfall again. It's not like I'm benefiting in getting someone who plays in 28 and 29. So my mode of thinking right now is that I'd sell Tony for Solanke, and then I would sell Van Heck for a Bournemouth defender. And I'll come on to the heat maps in a moment to show who I could potentially get. I think that would be the logical way forward. And then I'd free hit in 29. So I'd hope that I've got the momentum of a healthy number of double game week players in 28. And then in 29, I can free hit and maximize on, albeit the limited number of players available. And then hopefully have a significant rank boost and then take hits as and when required for the remaining blanks and doubles. So that's the situation I'm in. I've, of course, used my wild card already, getting in those triple Luton players and others. But then, yeah, ultimately, I was in this situation. Am I going to sell Haaland for Solanke? I'm not. It just doesn't make sense. So on the balance of probability, I probably will free hit. Double game week 28, but just take a step back. For captaincy, I asked who is the best FPL captain for double game week 28. And no surprises. Solanke was the overwhelming favourite pick, albeit I gave one option and other, and comfortable 85% lead in the poll. So I'm projecting that Dominic Solanke will have an effective ownership that will exceed well over 180% for Double Gameweek 28 among the top 10k, as well as the engaged FPL managers. And what that basically means is that if you're going to captain like a Morris or a Barkley or a Bournemouth defender, if they blank or don't do as well as Solanke, then that is going to massively affect your overall rank in a negative way. So just keep that in mind as well. Last but not least, here are some amazing FPL tips from FPL Prem Tipster, who, as mentioned, was 3 millionth in the world 15 game weeks ago and now is in the top 15k. In his own words, here's how he's done it.
The first tip is a big part of my FPL philosophy, which is ignoring ownership in your decision making. All of your focus should be put on expected value. If you're putting any form of emphasis on ownership, which is absolutely nothing to do with points, you're more likely to get less points. For instance, if a player is expected to have roughly 200% effective ownership, and I think they're the best captain, I'm going to go ahead and captain them, not to protect my rank, because I think they'll get more points, and it's same on the flip side as well. If I think they're going to be close to 0% effective ownership, and I think they're the best captain, I am going to captain them, not because they're a differential, but because I think they'll get more points. The second tip to gain an advantage over most FPL managers is to put in the research. I watch the extended highlights of every single Premier League match. They're on Sky Sports for half an hour per match, every morning after the matches are played. Now, you might not have time to do that, but you could still watch the normal highlights of those matches, or the full matches that you do have time to watch, especially if there are popular FPL assets playing in those fixtures. I also research the data, so there's underlying stats, points projections, betting odds, set pieces, expected minutes, opposition stats, etc. If you watched any of my best captain videos, you'll know that I use that research for those, and I've had 8 captain picks in a row without any blanks at the minute, so it does show that it works. I also apply this research to my transfers as well. I'm currently on 15 green arrows in a row, so the results are there to show that this method is successful. My last tip is to make sure you're always planning ahead. Keep your plan flexible so you can always adapt to the unforeseen circumstances in FPL. There are several tools that you can use. There's fixture difficulty ratings, which I split between attack and defensive perspective, and that will give you a better team in future game weeks. You've got captaincy matrix, so you can make sure you own most of the optimal captain picks in future. And also at this point in the season, it is important to have a chip strategy in place. You will be taking less hits, and you will gain plenty of points from double and blank game week fixtures.
And there you have it. Apart from that, wishing you all the best for Double Game Week 28. If you're able to like, share and subscribe, that would be greatly appreciated. Take care and all the best. Thank you. Bye.